Yeah, a sub-unit, yeah, or unit of the whole.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, so thinking about that, I am inclined to refer back to your statement. Our senses sense us, but they don't sense for us. I think it's something worth thinking about. Well, since I first heard it, I've been really thinking about it, because we as human beings, we have 5 senses. Or, yeah, those are the tangible senses we have. But they sense for us, but they don't sense us. Meaning, most of the times, we may have certain inclinations, certain prejudices towards certain people, towards a certain group of people, and this brings us to the next topic on bias. And as I start off, I'll refer back to a story told by a famous Nigerian writer. She is called Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She is a writer and a storyteller. On her TED Talk, The Dangers of a One-Sided Story, she goes on to narrate about her family, the way she was brought up. She says that she was brought up in a privileged home, meaning they didn't have luck. They were in town, they used to live around school. I think one of her parents was a professor or a teacher. They had a guy who was helping them at their home, around the house, chores, maybe what we could refer to as a shamba boy, or someone who's helping around with chores. This guy was from, let's call him John. John was from the rural area. And according to what she'd had, according to the stories that she'd had from John, where John had come from, his family, his rural area, his upbringing, definitely, we most of us think that people from the rural area are poor. One day they went to visit John's place, and they found out that their family used to make mats, used to make baskets. Then she wondered, how come they are making very beautiful baskets, yet find against people. We have had stories. Sometimes they're just bad. They're just interesting stories, but they're not normally what is actually really happening. So around the workplace, what biases are common around the workplace? Your personal problems, your personal challenges may make you biased, because this is what you'll say that this is what I am going through. People should treat me in a specific way because this is what I am going through. Such that you're not mindful that the other people have problems. I have been in situations where I have maybe complained about a certain problem. I have vented to anyone who is close to me, just thinking I have a lot of problems, and then you just walk around and you see people with bigger challenges than you're facing. So what are the common biases in the workplaces? Maybe you can tell me. Maybe you can share with me in the comments and the chats so that we can discuss. Meanwhile, I came up with a few. We have competitiveness. Like we've been told, we know what we are, but we don't know who we are. And sometimes, as human beings, we are talented differently. We have different strengths, we have different weaknesses. Someone, maybe a colleague in your workplace, is talented differently. He or she is stronger, or he or she does some specific duties and tasks differently from how you do it. How you do them, sorry. And then you're feeling, oh no, I have to be better. But then again, it comes naturally for them. So you say, I don't like that person. Simple. Have you had people say, I don't like that person, she is rude, she is not a good person, she's a bad person, she came and stepped on me. So most of the times, those are the things we feel towards that particular person. We are superficial sometimes. You don't like them, but when you ask somebody why specifically don't you like them, and if you are honest with yourself, you will come to find out it's simply because they are better than you at a particular task. That doesn't mean that you're not better at something else. The thing is, we as human beings, most of the times, are inclined to admire the uniqueness in other people, but on ourselves, we haven't really found out what makes us unique. Everyone will tell you I am special, I know I am unique, but what specifically makes you unique, you don't know. And that's why we need to know who we are, so that we are aware of ourselves, we are aware of our weaknesses, we are aware of our bias towards a certain people. Most of the time, you will find biases against leaders and their subordinates because of ranks. Your subordinate or your colleague who is at a lower rank than you, you don't feel like they are worthy to even comment. You don't think their opinions are worthy. That is just a bias, because rank bias, social status biases, stereotypes, tribal and racial biases, things we have held against towards specific tribes, and that is not true. Maybe because you encountered one person who acted differently, who acted weirdly, maybe what you would say weirdly, and then you just biased against the whole tribe. You say that tribe, you stereotype the tribe. Okay, so why do we need to, how can we overcome bias? The first thing is knowing yourself, knowing who you are, being aware, being present. Because you will be aware, you will ask yourself, why am I biased towards this particular person? And you will be honest about it. You will be able to walk in someone's shoes and understand them. You will be able to listen to understand to a particular person, and not listening to respond, but listening to understand. Also, we need to overcome bias by being open-minded. Be open-minded and be human. Because if you are a human being, we say human is prone to error, but if you are a human being and you are telling us you're not perfect, so why are you putting the other human being on a pedestal and asking them to be perfect? Thank you. Maybe any questions, any concerns, maybe biases that I may not have mentioned. Yeah, I would like also to hear from you, to hear from any one of you. If not, we can go to being aware of ourselves.
Thank you so much, Ruth. You've taken us through the various concerns, and they are very much related to self-awareness. Because when we are clearly self-aware, we can be able to have self-control. And this self-control will control the biasness. Yes, either for or against something. And I think this is really underlining the importance of the self-awareness. Further to this, again, how can we be self-aware? That's the other thing. Again, we are looking into and just taking it a step ahead. We need to have self-examination, self-exploration, looking around and inwards, introspection, a journey within us and around us to become aware of this self, the various aspects of the self, the various dimensions of the self, because the self is multidimensional. We have the physical aspect of the self, the emotional, the spiritual, the various, many of them, or of the various dimensions. So the self is multidimensional. So being self-aware is being aware of the various aspects, the various dimensions, the various planes that are actually involved in this personal world, because the whole world that the individual lives. So by being aware of oneself, you'll be aware of the personality traits, the abilities that are unique to oneself, the challenges or the weaknesses, the habits, and all those things that are actually related to the underlying person that many times we are not aware of. And so it's becoming conscious of these underlying personalities, potentialities for that matter. So it is the potentialities now, which means some of them have not been expressed simply because they never found a conducive environment. So they are pending, and some of them can be very dangerous. So the moment we are aware of what underlies us, the potential, the possibility of becoming or doing, then we can have self-control. And then we can have better self-management. But when we are not aware of what underlies us, what we can do, and we are not aware that we can do it, or the possibility of becoming, what we become and we are not aware, then sometimes we become what we did not anticipate to become. Simply because the potential has been there, something has triggered it, like now where we are talking about lack of self-awareness can make somebody even do things that they have never imagined they can do them, because the potential has been there, but maybe the stimulus was lacking in the environment. So being aware of that, then we can be in charge of ourselves. We can have self-control. Otherwise, how can we have self-control of the self that we don't understand? What are we controlling? Self-management of something we don't know, or someone we don't know. What are we managing? So the first step is being aware of what that underlies us. Then we know what we are controlling or managing. And then we can go ahead now, see what in that potential, in the possibility of becoming or doing, what we can be of use, maybe to a certain company, to a certain institution. And that is what now we can allow the process to go on to transform this possibility that is within us into an actual thing, which now can be able to facilitate production of a service or a product. And so that is now that is the self-actualization. Now, before getting now to the real process of self-actualization, the first thing we're asking ourselves, how do we find this self, this underlying potential? And when I was writing my book, I had to answer that question. And in page 28 of this book, you will find a drawing, a Venn diagram, which is showing the three intersecting circles. And one of the circles, which you can see in the screen, and these are intrinsic to the individual. So if you can be able to look, or because we are talking of self-examination, it is in the process of self-examination or self-exploration that you come across yourself, now the real self, performing something, and they are enjoying performing it, or it is an easy option in terms of doing it, This is what we are talking about. The moment you can be able to identify or spot that form of ability which is unique to oneself and which is natural occurring in this individual, then out of the combination of what you are able to do naturally and easier, maybe easier, a kind of a comparative advantage when it comes to you as compared to the other people, that ability and that interest or passion, when they combine in their, if you can draw the two circles as they are presented there, in the intersection, you find there's what you are both able, which is a flair to you, a natural ability, and what you are also enjoying or you enjoy doing or passionate about, where the two meet, what is embraced by the two simultaneously is something that you can do well and you enjoy doing. So that combines the two aspects of the self, which actually in this case we can call the abilities, we can give them a different name, call them the mechanics, because an individual is a system, only that it is a natural one. So these are the natural mechanics combining with the natural dynamics, and when they do that simultaneously around a task, there is excellence, there is competence, there is a performance that is brings the underlying self, actually the best of the underlying self, and this is where you make the most using the least. And this is actually an indicator. When you do several trials like that, and you make them in form of dots, the moment you combine several of those dots, there is a picture that is actually telling you what is underlying oneself. And therefore, this is when you go to the actualization. You are now taking something that's already identified, and then the identified capability, or the possibility, the identified capability or possibility is what we can now comfortably call capacity. And it is capacity that determines opportunity. Many times we talk about opportunity, equal to what? So it's only capacity, and it is only from that context of capacity that you can talk of unique capability. So it is a unique capacity for the individual that attracts unique opportunity for the same individual. Otherwise, with an opportunity there that you cannot attract or that you cannot, address, then it's not an opportunity to you. It's an opportunity to that other person who has the capacity. And therefore, this is where now self-actualization comes in. It is after buying this thing that you can do and do it well. And it has comparative advantage. It has competitive advantage over the rest of the people, maybe in comparison. And then it is the development of that now takes you to the level where now an institution or a company can give value to that, yeah, and this value is what gives you now the consideration, of course, yeah, and maybe you can get some income out of that, and it is the same that gives you some value or some position or a space in the workplace, a unique place in the workplace because of the uniqueness that has been already identified, underlying you, and now it has been processed or developed or value added to now a real thing, which can be used now to produce a product or a service. That's what gives you the value or the unique role in the institution or the company. And you can enjoy the inclusiveness or inclusivity that we are talking about. Thank you very much. Maybe you can ask some questions to that effect.
Maybe as the questions come in, you said something very interesting, equal opportunities, but I find that opportunity, I think maybe when you take a look back and look at, everyone is complaining about unemployment. And if I refer to the talk you gave on, the problem is not unemployment but unemployability. And many times there are opportunities, but people are not ready for those opportunities. Maybe you can really go back to that just why. How can one be how can one be ready for opportunities? Maybe as a person, how can you prepare yourself for such opportunities, maybe when they arise?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ruth. These are very important and very pertinent questions. And in this case, the most important thing to understand in this, or as I respond to this question, which I believe it is in the minds of many people, and most of even the listeners here, is the first thing is to be aware of who you are, not what you are, what will come later. Who you are, what do you have naturally? What is your natural status? What does the intrinsic self possess naturally? What is natural to you? What comes to you naturally or comes from you naturally, it becomes reliable because nature is self-sustaining. So on the basis of that, it is this natural personal uniqueness, when it is developed into some skill or some organized way of giving some service or a product, then that now is what you can depend upon. And that now can create the capacity now. The developed form of that is what we are calling capacity. And because of its uniqueness, it is going to attract some unique opportunity. It is only a unique as a particular product or a particular service that will appreciate this capacity. And therefore, we can only attract particular opportunities because we only have particular capacities. And so, it is not capacity until it's first of all identified, yeah, and then developed into a form that it can be given a name or placed somewhere, and it can be able to be tapped or used in an orderly manner, in an organized manner. That's when it's now professional, or capacity for that matter. So it is by just understanding what capacity you can have, that is, what is in you, and then how it can develop. When it is developed into this capacity, now this form we can now call capacity. That is the only time that now you can talk of opportunity. Yes. If an opportunity is there and you don't have the capacity for it, then it is opportunity for somebody else, not you. So we cannot first of all start with opportunities, because for who? So opportunity is only real when we look at it from the context of capacity. So if we can develop what we have into something now we can call the developed potential now, which we can call capacity, then we are ready for opportunity. It is specific, because the capacity is also specific, that is unique. So then again, it will attract a unique opportunity at the same time. So thank you very much.
So looking at the future workplace, still on minor, just a moment. Looking at the future workplace, we need to opportunity. Well, they say luck is where opportunity meets preparedness. So you need to know your abilities so that you are ready. You are ready for those specific capacities. For that specific opportunity, right? So looking at the future workplace and looking at the topic we are handling today, how can maybe a company enable such conditions where people are self-aware?
Very, very, very good. This is a very, very pertinent, and I think this is where I would call the institution of missing link. This is where I think the problem is in the whole system, maybe the world over, whereby we don't start with first of all identifying the individual's potential. We employ them, or maybe even take them to a training without first of all appreciating who they are naturally. Okay? So we are going to get people, and that is the cause of mediocrity. Yeah? In the service delivery or even the productivity in terms of product or the services. Because you find good people in a bad place or the wrong person in the right place. And this is the kind of a thing that we're having. And it is in any other vices, occupational vices, that are there. It's because the individuals are not first of all naturally comfortable with what they do or where they are. So the companies or the institutions should go first of all by the understanding of who the true self of the individual they want to recruit is. Who is the true self? So if you have a self-aware person, then this is the person that can even make it easier for the company, because they already know who they are. So they know the potential they possess, what they can be good at. And they have already processed that. So they have even actualized it into capacity. So when you engage them, it's already a ready product. Yeah. Yeah. So then this is going to remove all the other wastages, forms of wastages of resources and time and blame games and things like that. Yeah. Which actually is adversely affects productivity. And the rest of the environment of the workplace is affected adversely because of those things. The confusion around the individual. They don't even know where what the space they belong to. And therefore they want to tend to occupy every other space. They want to be everywhere, doing everything, which is not really possible. It's just the confusion, and this is the crisis that somebody else called it the identity crisis. When you cannot identify yourself, you are in a crisis. The individual is in a crisis because they don't know who they are and who they are not. They are everywhere doing everything, and so mediocrity and a lot of wastage of resources. So the companies should first of all, be able to identify who is the real person that we are engaging. Yes, and then the rest of it, the rest in the workplace, in the future workplace, it will be just history. Once this is done.
Yeah, I agree because what you're speaking of to me sounds like disruption. We have to disrupt the normal way of thinking. There needs to be a paradigm shift, a mindset shift from this normal. We are adapting to the new normal, and as we are adapting to the new normal, we can't do the new normal with the way, we can't do things the way we used to do them before. And if this pandemic has taught us anything, is that we need to live life, to be alive, to be awake, not just walk through life. Because I feel most of the times you find someone is trying this, they're trying that. Well, it is good at the first stage, because for you to know yourself, you have to expose yourself to different activities, to different things. So yeah, and I think that is very important. That is a very important point. Anyway, the next topic is on interpersonal skills, and I'm very excited about this. And looking at looking at ourselves after knowing yourself, understanding your strengths and weaknesses, understanding your natural abilities and passions. It doesn't end there. It now trickles down to how is that self interacting with other people. Well, I like stories, and I remember a talk by Simon Sinek. He's a writer, he's a speaker, and he's an author. So he says in his book, The Infinite Game, it is a very interesting book for if you're futuristic minded and positive minded and optimistic. It is a book I would recommend any of us to read. So in his book, he refers to a barrister he met at Four Seasons Hotel. He was very happy. I can't remember his name, but he was very happy even in his services, in what he was doing, and the way he served people, the way he would talk to the clients coming in. So Simon asked him, you seem to really love your job. Then the barrister responded, yes, I really love it here at Four Seasons Hotel. The managers are very mindful about anyone, about the workers, even those people who are cleaning, the janitors, and all that. Then he asked why. Then he said, the barrister said, it is because every minute the manager or my supervisor will come and ask me, how is your work going? How can I help you? And I think that is the main work of a leader. Being a leader, your main duty is to enable an environment where other people are working and expressing themselves, being themselves 100%. Because, as Maina told us, that is the only way you can achieve the results and do it passionately, do it naturally, in your natural abilities, because you are comfortable there. Also, so Simon went ahead to ask, what else? Said they are mindful of the employees, but I also work at another job where I don't really like it. I'm just there because of the money, because I have to survive. Does that sound familiar? So how many of us are walking through life because we need to survive? Well, I understand we need to pay the bills. We need to. Most of us, as the manager is asking you, how can I help you? How is it going? Where can I help you? What do you need? And then the other one, you are late. You have, these things won't do themselves. So on interpersonal skills, I think the first thing is to lead with empathy. And as you're looking at the future workplace, I think it's time to change our mindset. Many people will say this is business. You can't mix business with emotions. Yeah? But then again, if a human being is working for you, for a human being to work 100%, to be whole, to be alive, their emotions play a part, their psychology plays a part, their spiritual life plays a part, their physical plays a part. So how can you tell someone that when you walk through that door, leave your emotions at the door? Just questions. Interpersonal skills. You are aware of who you are. You know what you want. But are you giving your fellow human being opportunity to be themselves? Are you according to them the same space? So how can we practice this? Start with being when you're dealing with other people, be 10%. Give them. And as mentioned earlier, listen to understand. You no longer overlook mental health. Taking a mental toll on them. And then if you want to be peaceful, you can also be heard in order to matter. You're voicing out and you're saying out what you feel, how you. And hold vulnerability exercises and vulnerability talks where people express, and you as a leader, you as a manager, what is the other person going through? Before you ask them why their numbers are down and reprimand them for not doing their job, please reach out and ask, what's going on? How is the family at home? What do you need? How can I help you? When you walk in the door, through the gate, say hi to keeper, say hi to him, and mean it. Don't just say hi and bye. Just say hi, how are you? How are you doing? How's the job taking you? Start by doing little acts of kindness. And it will expand it will make the workplace better. It's also a net. So we really need to be aware we are, and also aware that other people are different from us, and accept that they are different, and give them to them to accommodate you. You also need to accommodate them. But not accommodate them as a human being, but accommodate human being as a human being. Because you want to treat them as a human being, also treat them as a human being. So any questions on that? And go on the dynamics.
Okay, thank you both so much. And I feel doing quite well. And I believe even our listeners are settled and how it will change in the workplace and reduce and maximize, how minimize the bias together with the other vices that actually go alongside. Now, talking about the group dynamics, you realize that you can only give what you have. And that's why we are starting with this here in our minds. Once we are comfortable in our own skins, we can be able to allow other people also to be comfortable around us. Therefore, when now individuals together form a group, and each individual perceive themselves, and as somebody said, that individuals perceive reality differently. So the uniqueness here, which is the difference between an individual and the other, once the individual is conscious about or sensitive to it, then they are able to keep their space and allow the others to have their space. And then together, if everybody was doing that, then together we have collective comfort, collective enjoyment. Yeah, and that's what we are talking now when we are thinking about the group dynamics. It's whereby what you would want other people to do to you, now you are taking that as your responsibility and going ahead and doing exactly that. And therefore, when everybody gets into that kind of a mood, then you find everybody starts enjoying. You will never enjoy in a group when the other individuals are not enjoying. It's not possible, because you are not an island. It is not possible to do that. It's not practical. So you can only be happy if you can make the other person happy, and everybody will be happy, and then together with them you can be happy. So there's a very simple way of doing that. Ask yourself, what is it that I enjoy being done to me, or what is it that I would like other people to do to me? Then the correct answer to that, go ahead and do that, exactly that, to that other person. And then you'll be surprised about what comes back to you, because they'll be filled with the happiness or the joy, and it will spill over and come back to you. So in the future workplaces, if we can have people who are this sensitive to what they do to others, this is now again what we were told as the emotional intelligence. Yes, when we can have people who are emotionally intelligent, people who are conscious of the environment and what other people don't like being done to them or like being done to them, then we can have workplaces where people will be looking forward to joining maybe like a Monday. And then the Monday blues will be actually forgotten. Because why people become very depressed when they imagine that they're going back to that place where maybe there's a lot of bias, a lot of confusion, a lot of unhealthy competition and the like. So we can improve the whole thing or the workplace by having those things done correctly. And thus now, in this case, we can have positive group team spirit and teamwork, and we can enjoy the groups that we are in at workplaces. Thank you very much. Maybe you can ask a question. Yeah. Then I already have a few questions that have reached me, and one of them is from Carol, and she was asking, if you are concerned with what people want done by you, are you not going to be a people pleaser? Are you going to not be pleasing the people? And then again, how can you do this? How can you improve the workplace, or maybe have positive impact in your workplace without sabotaging oneself, or maximize your productivity or your potential without sabotaging oneself? I think this is a very, very good question. And now, in few words, we can say this. When you are self-aware, and you are aware of your environment, now the management, the colleagues, you can know the handicaps, the things that are there, the limiting factors, and you can attune yourself, see what is possible at a time. And you have to be very realistic, because change is a process. So even if it's the mentality or the attitude at the workplace, if you are a change mover, if you're going to cause change, like what Ruth was talking about, then you have first of all to have a better understanding of how or what to do to cause change. Because change is not an event. Change is a process. So you'll have need some good understanding and a balanced one for that matter. Then you can slowly move by first of all you changing, then you become even an example to the people. And after a while, people will have noticed the positive or the benefits or the merits in what you are doing, and after a while, they will be able to follow suit. So you can cause change or even maximize your potential. But of course, you have to do it systematically, gradually, and of course, with a lot of understanding. And the other thing that's more important more than anything else is the attitude or the approach. The approach is very key. In whatever you do, the approach. Many times we fail at the approach. You go and tell maybe the management or a colleague that you are good for nothing. Then, of course, they are not going to listen to the rest of the story because of the approach. So the approach, again, is very key if you are going to be effective in making or moving the change or the air. The other thing, a question is from Dixon. He's also asking about the management. When the management is opposed to what you do, how are you going to do that? Again, it's the same thing, the same scenario, whereby you are the first person, a kind of a pioneer, to get an idea, a good idea for that matter. What do you do? If you are the only person, for example, let's give a story. If you are the people that introduce shoes, wearing of shoes, how would you do it to people? Because nobody will buy at first, because they even don't know what they are. So how do you create a new market for a product that you want to sell? Like shoes, for example. You have to have a lot of understanding. You have to know better than the people you are trying to introduce to that. So go with a few of them, give to maybe their leaders, and let them walk in thorns and mud, and then realize that they come out without being affected. Then a few people who actually demand to have something like similar to that. And after a while, they'll be ready, there'll be a market for shoes. So whatever idea we come up with, if we have the proper understanding and the proper approach for that matter, and a positive one, slowly by slowly, we can sell the idea or the feelings. But you have to package it so well that it is appealing enough. That's why there will be required some wisdom, and this is what will guide you to things that are supposed to have taken off. Is the approach many times is not proper. Like, for example, when you meet somebody and you want to correct them, many times what we do, we use the wrong approach. You start by telling them the negatives. They are not going to listen to you. First of all, they are not self-aware. They are not even able to see those things. Maybe they are hearing it for the first time. So the approach is very critical in this matter. Yeah. So the moment you can approach them positively, friendlily, then slowly, and be an example. Be that change that you want to see. Slowly by slowly, you are able to win some confidence, and then you can be able to effect the change. Thank you very much.
Yeah, maybe to add on that, I don't know if this helps, but I just thought as Carol asked the question about people pleasing, it's a very thin line. If I, in my own thinking, it's a very thin line. But to refer to Jay Shetty's words, he was saying that he was being interviewed and was asked, what happens when someone approaches you for help? And many times he said, if I have the capacity, meaning, like you had said earlier, are you full? Is your cup full, or is your cup empty? Because you, as well as him, might go into the same problem together. So he was saying, if somebody has drowned and is calling for help, you have first to ask yourself, am I able to help that person? Because even if I am on the maybe on the edge of the river, or is it a lake, whatever it is, or a swimming pool, and that person is drowning and I don't know how to swim, if I jump in, I will still create the same problem. To help them. So what do you do in such scenarios? I think the best thing to do is go back, call for someone who knows how to swim, and come help him. Come tell him there's a person who's drowning there. Please help me, because I don't have the capacity. Because most of the time when you're pleasing somebody, when you're going out of your way, it means your cup is not full. So how can you help me with a half full cup, or rather a half empty? It depends on how you phrase it. So I think on people pleasing, you have to know who I am, who am I, do I have the capacity, and if not, I think that is when now we start talking about setting boundaries. I hope that helps. Yes. So after all this, after understanding all this, knowing who you are, because when you know who you are, when you understand how to deal with other people, when you start leading with empathy, when you start leading with love, you also have goals for yourself. You also have goals, maybe you're a founder or a CEO, a HR, or a manager, whatever capacity you're in, you need to set goals, because there's more to life. After knowing who you are, now that is just the first step. Now actualizing who you really are. And many other times we set goals, and in setting goals, everyone will set goals. Every new year we will set resolutions. Until the next year we set new resolutions. And then the next year we set new resolutions that we actually never get to actualize. So I think the first thing to understand is three things. Is that goal you want to set personal to you? Does it matter to you? No, be very careful, because here is where we go wrong. Your friend's goal is, I want to buy a car, and then you're there, you also want to buy a car, but you don't want to buy a car because it matters to you. You want to buy it because all my friends have cars, so I also need a car, but it doesn't really matter to you. So these goals you're setting for your company, are you setting them because your competitors have already done that, so you also want to do that? And that is where you will experience a mission drift. Well, you know this is what I want, but there are all these shiny new toys coming in, and then you're looking, this is shiny, but your mission is not what all these new things that are coming about. So does that goal matter to you? So is it personal? Is it measurable? And measurable meaning, do you have specific milestones? You have to break it down to understand that you can measure the progress. Can you measure the progress of this goal? Say you want to go to school. You have to be specific. What do you want to study? How long will that take me? And referring back to self, will this help me express myself more? Will this help me in knowing my purpose, in fulfilling my purpose? Or does this only matter to my parents or to my friends? In the future workplace, we understand that first, when we understand diversity, it is important because it means people with their different natural abilities coming together to achieve a certain grand vision of the company, or a certain grand vision of the founder. So you have to ask yourself, if I apply for that job, is the mission of that company aligning with my values? I think that is one of the things we rarely look at. Does it align with my values? Is it aligning with my goals? And if you don't know yourself, which means you don't know your values, and it definitely means you'll just apply for any job that comes up. Any job you come across. The other thing you should know about goal setting is it has to be actionable, meaning you have to find a way to achieve it. Get into action. Most of the times, goal setting is easy. Goal setting is I want this is what I want, but getting to action now is the work, and that is where most people fail. Because one, if you didn't set a particular goal with the self in mind, with your purpose in mind, which means maybe you're setting goals that are being influenced by your society, goals that are influenced by your friends. They're not specific and they don't matter to you. They matter to your parents. They matter to the society. Because at a particular time in life, maybe you will set a goal that you want to be married, but it doesn't really matter to you. It's just because people are telling you, hey, when is the party? When are we celebrating? Tunashonesha nguo lini? Umetuweka sana. So you succumb to such pressure. You set such goals, they don't really matter to you. So goals have to be personal, they have to be specific to you. And in setting of the goals, there's a model by Rensyl that has a starting line and has mile markers, a starting and a finish line, and in between there are mile markers. So on mile 1, you have to ask yourself, what is the goal I want? Write it down. Where do you want? What do I want? Why do you want it? Because why is very important. Because at why is where you get to understand, does it really matter to you? So on the first and the starting line is setting the goal. Then as you start progressing is mile 1, you ask yourself, what resources do you have? What do you have now? What can you do at that present time? If your goal is going back to school, what can I do now? Maybe if I want to go to Kenyatta University, go to Kenyatta University. Ask what courses they have. Do you have this and this course? Yes. So what is the fee? That is the first step. And then after that, you figure out, how do I raise the fee? When should I start? So at the first line is asking yourself, what do you want? What do you have at that particular moment? So on mile 2 is what can you do immediately? What can you start with? Who do you need to reach out to? Maybe you need to reach out to your parents. Maybe you need to reach out to apply for a particular sponsorship or a scholarship. So what do you need? What do you need to do? Who do you need to reach out to? Do you need to reach out to friends and ask for help? Do it. Remember, we said humanity is a collective exercise, not an individual's work. This is where now you have already gotten to the action. Boots on the ground here. And then after you've done that, remember, it's your goal. You have started now. You have reached out to people. You have got the help you need. You have got the resources you need. Now you get to the work. Get to the work. And that is where most people give up. Most people want success, but they don't want the work associated with it. So at the finish line is where you have accomplished your goal. Now it is time to help other people. How can you connect? How can you be out there and tell people, this is what I do, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and this is who we are? Because you have already done the work. So I'll ask a question as I complete this. What are you willing to do to get to your willing to do? Because as Tom Billier says, the difference between where you are and what you want is what you're willing to do. So what are you willing to do? How badly do you want it? trying to get disciplined now. The work, the long hours, no one talks about that. Because for someone to be successful, if you listen to even the most successful people in the world, they will tell you the work, the hours they put, the work they had to do, what they really had to do, something that it's not pleasing, but it is because the goal is mattering to you, it means a lot to you, so you have to put in the work, and you have to be disciplined. So what matters to you most? Start with that, and then set your goals, and then ask yourself, what do you need to get there, and get to doing it. Thank you. So, Maina, do you have any questions?
What I would want to just add a little. Now, in achieving goals,
Yes.
another very important thing, actually you've put it so well.
Uh-huh.
I only want to add something little. The basis of achievable goals. What makes a goal achievable
Yes.
must be something that can be supplied naturally by the individual, the person who is setting the goal. And the achievable goals to an individual
Yes.
are those goals that are based on the personal uniqueness. This personal thing that is occurring in the individual, the potential. So now when somebody sets a goal that they are naturally able to address or supply, yes, then it is achievable on the basis of this is what they're capable of doing. Because many times people set goals and they're just being ambitious. Things that are not under their circumstances, they are not able to achieve. In that, certain other things that are required, are requisite to the achievement of the goals, are not available. So goals are achievable when they are based on the personal uniqueness that we are saying that is already established or discovered.
Yes.
So otherwise you have put it so well.
Okay.
Thank you very, very much.
Something.
Now, because of Carol, now the question that Carol again has asked about how you can be having the opposition, and then at the same time, there is a lot of opposition, maybe in your place of work or wherever in an establishment, and again, you want to achieve some goals or cause some change or some impact. One of the things, you can only be able to do something that you have there, just as we said in the past. You can only give what you have. What is it that you have in plenty? What is it that is occurring in you naturally? What is in large supply in you? And that's why you can only operate successfully in your natural home, in your niche. So you cannot operate outside your niche. Because you run out of gas, you run out of energy, because of the resistances and the other things that happen. Because anytime you want to introduce something new, there is a natural law that resists change, the law of inertia.
Yes.
So you have to have enough energy to overcome that, to overcome inertia. For example, when you want to start a vehicle, it is you require a lot of energy to start it. Why? Because the law of inertia is resisting the change. It wants the vehicle to continue in the same state of stationary, or being stationary. So again, once it is at a very high speed, you require a lot of energy again to stop it because of the same law. So whether it is starting or stopping, you require enough energy, the requisite energy, to do the required action. So if you want to make some impact or change something in a workplace or somewhere in an establishment, you require to first of all find your niche, find yourself, be self-aware, and go where you are naturally supported by nature, the nature within you. That means something that you have the potential of doing, and this is what you want to do because you have what it takes to do it. Otherwise, you are going to run out of energy, because if it's what you are doing, you already first of all struggling with yourself, maybe from within, and then struggle from outside, then you are not able to cope. So find out what is it that you can do naturally with that natural backup, and then that is the part that you can be able to do and do it effectively. in that you have enough, more than enough energy to do. And the whole of the natural system, the universe is also backing you. So this is the only place that you can do competently or excel in, and because the energy you have is being supplied naturally from within, and that's why we first of all have to be self-aware, find our niche, our natural place, and this is where we can do what we are required to do because we have what it takes to do it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that is very important. Maybe to our viewers and our listeners, we have 2 minutes to, you can send in questions, and we are here ready to hear from you and also get to learn together. We learn every day. So, Mina, I think what you said is very important because what the universe will reflect to you the energy you're giving. And if you always, I found that when you're associated, when you're in a situation where you're just giving out negative energy, you will get people who still have the same energy coming back. And everything, if you wake up, sometimes you say we've broken up on the bad side. Is it the bad side of the bed or with the wrong leg? I don't know, something. Anyway, so you will find that the whole day you'll just grumble, you'll still keep on complaining. Yeah, I think, that is very insightful. Do you have a question?
So again, on the same thing that you have said, on the same thing that you have said,
yes.
Ruth,
Yes.
there is this common a saying that is becoming quite common,
Yes.
cheza kama wewe.
Yes.
Now the question is,
Uh-huh.
where is it
Yes.
that you unaweza cheza kama wewe? First of all, where? And wewe ni nani? Wewe ni nani? Yes? If you don't know wewe, kama hujui wewe ni nani, ukiambiwa ucheze kama wewe utachezaje? So this is where this is what we are actually seeing, that the first thing is to establish wewe ni nani na uchezaje naturally. Wewe uchezaje na this unique thing about the individual. What is this uniqueness that makes you an entity? Now, it is this uniqueness when you are using it in the dancing or katika kucheza, it will be so unique, and then you also are aware of the uniqueness, and then you are doing it in a unique way. Then you are now able kucheza kama wewe, na ukiambiwa ucheze kama wewe utakuwa unacheza hivyo. That discovered form of uniqueness, which is actually personal, and makes you an entity. Yeah, thank you.
Which reminds me of a conversation we had some time ago, that you made a comment that most people know they are unique. Most people know they are unique. Okay, I think everyone will. You'll hear people say I'm special, I know I'm unique, but they don't know what makes them unique. And that is when people now wakiambiwa cheze kama yeye anacheza kama mtu mwingine, because they have admired a specific trait in that person, so that is they are copying. They try to copy that trait because they don't know what identifies them as unique. What do you think about that?
Yeah, this is why we're talking of identity crisis.
Yes.
Very many, before you are self-aware, then you are suffering from identity crisis. You are in a crisis. You can't identify yourself. When you ask who you are, when you ask to cheza kama wewe, you don't know what that means. You are going to cheza kama somebody else. So it is this establishment of who you truly are. And when you develop it to a level where it is now the uniqueness can be seen. It's already developed. The discovered potential within you has been developed to a point where it's now clear who you are, what you can do. And that can already be appreciated by other people. Now, so it is that awareness of who you are and who you and you have confirmed it. Then you can be able now to go ahead and do what you have already established that you can do, and it brings out the best of you.
The best.
Yes.
The best out of that situation.
Yes.
Yes. Maybe the last sentiment, or maybe a last comment is, what if I know who I am, and I am around people who don't know who they are, how should I react to that? How should, because many other times you understand, you're comfortable in your own skin, which means unacheza kama wewe, in your own natural way. You have actually actualized this, and I think I have experienced such situations. I know who I am. I know what makes me feel comfortable. I'll maybe do things that express my true identity. But the people around me will look at me like, what are you doing? No. So, as a person who knows who they are, how do we relate to other people who are yet to find out who they are?
Thank you very much. When you know who you are, number one, you already have possessed that understanding.
Yes.
And the mechanism towards that, achieving that.
Yes.
And because we have already said that you can only give what you have, it is this understanding that makes you a kind of a leader, even without a title. And you are the leader of that team.
Yes.
And this team, since they also are, if they have been looking at you, they are already realizing that there is something different about you, yeah, as compared to the rest of the team.
Yeah.
So they look up to you as a kind of a leader, and they're already seeing how comfortable you are, how you don't grapple, how you know, this already this is going to attract their attention,
Yes.
and therefore you become automatically their coach, and somehow, slowly by slowly, if you befriend them, and also the benefits that comes with the self-awareness, you are comfortable. You are comfortable with your weaknesses, your strengths, and you are not blaming anybody.
Yeah.
Then this kind of a thing creates an aura, something that attracts other people. They feel you are good, and they feel there is something they can learn from you. It is out of this positive influence that you can help them. They will even start asking you, "What did you do?" Yeah. Then in the process of become already a coach or even a trainer. Yeah. You can even have a club there out of this group and train them. And and then they slowly by slowly, then you are going to pass your message, to convey your message.
Yes.
But first of all, you have to be very clear about who you are,
Yes.
and then that now is what you can extend to the environment, to the other people.
Yes.
Yeah. So it starts with you all the time. It starts with you.
Starts with you.
So success starts with you. Failure starts with you.
Oh yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you everybody. Thank you for this session. It was very exciting. I hope you also had an exciting time, and we look forward to further conversations, to further engagements. And what I can say is, knowing yourself is not an event, but it's a journey, it's a process. And like we've had from very wise insights, is that we need to know who you are, because the energy you give is the energy you receive.